Hello, Stephanie Toman here with the Presentation Skills Beyond the Basics. This time we're going to be looking at charts, and we're also going to be looking at, if you just go to the next slide, we've got flowcharts and diagrams using the SmartArt. So what we'll go through is lots of ways to create charts, do things with charts, animate charts, edit them, etc. And it'll all be done using the resources of a presentation piece that you'll find on YouTube when you look at how to use these guides, these courses. Okay, so you've got a guide there to get the resources, and then hopefully you can work your way through these or just look at the areas that you need. Thank you. Okay, so on the combination charts activity 1, we're going to follow the instructions here, and we're going to copy this data opposite. So I'm going to copy it all like that. Right click and copy. Insert a new title and content, and because we've highlighted slide 3, it should go below it anyway when we insert it, and it has. And what we need to do then is, as it says in the first one, activate the chart feature and paste this data into the template, keeping the destination format. So we click in there, there's the chart activated. Okay. Paste in here, but remember, not the first one, but the match destination formatting. So there you can see it's done that. And it talked about at the end of the instruction to remove the series 3. So note the blue handle will show on here whatever is in here. So the chart reflects the data. You'll see that we have a series 3 there. So in order to take that off, you've got the little blue handle, two-sided arrow. Drag it over so that it no longer is reflected in the chart, and then it's gone. So it's pull or drop back, depending on what you want to show with regard to your information. So we've got that, we can close that, and it will show the chart that we're supposed to be have created. So moving on, we're still going to stay with this chart. We're going to create a secondary axis. We pull that out of the way so that we can see this coming up. Secondary axis that will then apply to this level of data, because they're very different. One is very high and one is quite low. So in order to do that, if you right click on the units sold and go to the format data series, it brings up here the format data series pane, and there's your secondary axis there. And then what we're going to do is it's asking us to change the unit sold data, so that's the orange, this one here, to a line chart. So if we right click while they're all got the handles on, you can see they've all got these little dots on the end, and we're going to change the chart series. We're not going to use this line, because if we do, it will change both. So what we need to do is we need to go to the combination chart area, make sure it's the correct, let's pull that over, you can see it's units sold. So we find units sold and we change this one to a chart, and then OK. And then you can see that's OK. Changing it, the final thing, to red, right click on it just like you would do anything else, and then make sure the outline is in red. If you forget and you go for a fill, you'll just see that it's not quite as it should be, is it? Okay, so remember, outline and red. So that we've done those bits. Okay, so we've just learnt how to do a secondary axis and then convert data series into a different types of chart, and even change the colour of it. So moving on, we go to the next one. It says add a chart title, all of the different things that it wants to be put on there. So what we're going to do in this case, we're going to use what they call the chart elements. Now, when you click on a chart and you click off, notice what happens with regard to its tools. So chart tools appear once the chart is activated. You can find chart elements just here in the corner. It's exactly the same as this tool here. This is really useful. You can close this pane if you want more room on your screen. And if you click here, you get exactly the same chart elements as I just did in the Design tab. So it's asking us to add a title. So we've got our chart title, and that's taken it off, that's putting it on. So you can just literally type in there, sales 2019, and we've done that. The primary vertical title, so click outside of the title chart, and then we'll go in there. And we've got the axis title. So click on that and it opens up another bit. So you've got primary vertical here. So that's where we're going to type sales, and you'll see it go in, and it'll also be on the y-axis and vertical. Then we're going to click out again, back into the charts, and we're doing the primary vertical we've done on the sales. Then we're going to do the vertical title on the units. So vertical on this one. Secondary vertical. Notice it come up. You've got to see that, and just type in units. So if you're not sure, let's click out again. Do what I did, sort of sit over it, have a look. That's your chart title. We're doing the axis chart titles, and you can start to see that if I went for that one, do you see how it's got axis title across the bottom above the series sales value? So it actually gives you a good idea of what's going on. If you need more information with regard to these vertical axes, etc., it does take you into an area where you can look at more things. Okay, so there's always more options on these. So we've done that, and we've done that. So it's got a secondary axis on the line chart, and it's good. We've got a primary vertical on the sales. Have we got a primary vertical on the sales? Yes, we have. And we've got a chart title, so we're happy with that. So just be really careful in the exam that you cover those areas correctly. So it's easy, but it can get tricky. There's a lot going on. So this is what it should look like. Moving on. So we're going to be now looking at editing charts. So you can edit the whole chart, single data series, scale, vertical scales, intervals between the numbers, the way the figures are displayed, labels and legends. Oh, let's have a look at this and see what we've got. So this one, editing charts, activity 1. So on the sales axis, change the minimum to 10,000 and change the maximum to 25,000, and use the hundreds label. So it's the sales axis, which is this. We right click it, we can get into the axis formatting area, so we can change it. So format axis brings up the pane on the side, and we've got a minimum in here of 10. Make sure that your number lock's on, just like me, otherwise nothing will happen. And that always tends to happen things like exams, doesn't it? Because you're not concentrating on that sort of thing. In here we've got 25, so let's just change that to that. We want it to use the hundreds label. There's the label displays here, and I think that's it. Okay, so we can see that it's all there, and then close that down. Let's go to the next one. Oops, push down, and there you can see that they look exactly the same. See how these have changed? The hundreds has gone in there, and the units, you can see that those changed. That's the maximum of things we use, and everything else stays the same. So if you look at the one the way that your chart should look, this is what should be going on with it. It should have those elements. The next part we're going to do is display the sales axis to display its currency with a pound symbol and 0 decimal places. So it wants these figures here to be different, to be displayed differently. So right click again, go into format axis. Now this time we're dealing with numbers, just as you would in spreadsheets, the way that you deal with the different types of formatting you can do, currency, etc. So if you've got the category here, you've got a currency there, which it wants. It does a pound symbol by default here. And there's decimal places is by default 2 because it's currency, but we only want 0. So it's this area here under the number. You have to drop it down in order to see it, and you could have to scroll down a little bit as well, just to see what it's going to look like. And then we need to change the gap width of the sales value. So you can try to go into some of these, but usually once you've done something, it's probably just best to come out. And then if you right click on the actual data series sales and go into format data series, that way you come into the right areas. So sometimes trying to find your way through the task pane can take too long. It's not as efficient. So what you can do is then do your gap width, and you could do it at 75%. And your series overlap is in here as well. These are all areas. You can see the change. They're all areas that are in the exam syllabus that you need to cover. Okay, so there we are. We're moving to the next one. So that's the way that that should look. And now we're moving to activity 3. Okay, so slide 11. Let's close this off again, keep things tidy. Okay, so now continuing with the activity 3, I'm going to add outside end data labels to the sale data series. So if you right click on the sales data series, you can just add data labels that will automatically or by default be the outside end. However, if it's not an outside end, then you need to do something more. So if we just close this pane down here, let's go to our chart elements again. Remember, they're not there if we're not on the chart. As soon as we click on the chart, they're back again. So if you open this up and you go to data labels, you will find everything that you need with regard to those. So you can see there's the outside end. So I could put those in, and it's applying it to both. So let's just escape a minute, come back out and make sure it's just this one. And you can see that it's done that there. If we undo and we go in the other way into the chart elements, you can see there. But while I had both highlighted, both went on. So be really careful. First in charts is what you've clicked on before you go in and use the feature and what feature you're using. So you've got lots more options down here as well. So sort of explore them all. So let's get that outside end on. Data labels, there they are. So with next part, we're going to apply a large confetti pattern to the sales value, the blue data series. So right click, go into your fill, drop down, and here you can see you've got your normal fill, picture, gradient, and texture. Use the texture one, and make sure you go into the more textures right at the bottom. This brings up this task pane here. So let's do that again and show you how it works. If that's not on and it comes up, there you can see, and that's what brings this up. You can use a pattern fill. You may not use this very often, but it's there and it's part of the syllabus, and there's the large confetti. But you can hover on these and find out what their name is. So use the tooltips to make sure you insert the right one. Okay, good. So down to slide 12, this is what it should look like, and I think it does. Hopefully it does. If not, just go back and try again. You've got the PowerPoint yourself to do it. And then we're moving on to an area of animating charts, activity 1. So some basic animation, which I'm sure you've done. So if we look at animation, there is the transition animation that applies to how slides come in. And you've got the various slides that you can use. And if you pick a transition to come in, you may pick a wipe, and then you can add more effects. So that's the transition. That's how a slide comes in. If you want to take a slide transition off, go back to none, and that will do that. But what we're going to do here is we're going to use the animations tab, and we're going to apply some animation to the next slide. And this is what we're going to apply. We're going to apply a fly-in animation style to the chart with a bottom left direction and bring in by category. So we're going to delete the line chart data series, and just click on it and use the delete key. And then what we're going to do is going to apply, if you click on one data series, they all are highlighted. You can see they've got the handle on. Remember, 2 single clicks isolates one, but we're not going to do that. Click away, click on one, and they all become highlighted with handles. So our animation tab here, we've got a fly-in, there it is there. We've got another effect other than the fly-in. There's the drop down of the fly-in. Let's close this pane and let's bring up the animation pane so we can see what we're animating. There's my first one there. If I hover on it, it says it's fly-in. But we're going to do a little bit more than that. We're going to do a fly-in bottom left. So we're going to add some more effects. There we go. And then we're going to do by category. So it's going to come in by category there. Okay, good. And we get a quick preview of it. And you can see the different animations. If you drop down the expand the contents there in the task pane, you can see them all there. And each of the areas, including the frame, has had an animation applied to it. Okay, so we've done that, and what should happen is when you run it, if you go into PowerPoint series, let's just bring this over here, click again, and you can see how that comes in. Escape, and then you're back to your PowerPoint again. Okay, so if we look at this one, completed chart should look like this now. Let's have a go running it again. Close the animation pane, click on there. I can switch so that you can see the presenter one. This comes in first. There you go. There you go. Okay, and carry on, and it takes you to the next slide. Escape. Okay, so good. That should have worked. If it doesn't, remember, just go back and watch the video and try again in your own time. You've got the PowerPoint to do it with. The next area we're going to do are flowcharts. This is also part of the syllabus for advanced presentations. So flowcharts that you can create yourself, and then also predefined ones that are very graphic, good graphics as well. They look very good in a lot of presentations, and you can use them in other areas as well, like Visio, or import them into PowerPoint from Visio. So it's a really good area to do. So the first thing I would like you to do is actually have a go at creating something like this yourself. So in a sense, you could even get a new PowerPoint. So I could just go and get a new PowerPoint, click on it, and then I could have view, and I could maybe, if you follow me and you arrange all, you will then get your 2 PowerPoints together. So let me just do that again. So you've got your PowerPoint open here. I got my new from here, but you can do a new from here as well. Just a plain blank one. And then go to view and arrange all, and it splits them together. So we'd need a blank PowerPoint presentation to do that one. So if we used a blank, make sure that when you're on the home, you pick a blank. It just makes life a little bit easier. So then what you can do is, what I've used in here is different flowchart shapes, and then I've put some connectors between them with arrows, and it also gives you little tips like holding the shift key will keep a line straight, and you can grab them all and right click and group them as one picture, so that if you were moving them from one application to another, you could do it all as one, and then you can ungroup and change things again individually with detail. So If you go into the insert menu, if we do this on the plain one and into the shapes drop down, you will see the flow chart icons here, and you could use the other stuff as well. But it talks about the first one, which is the terminator, which I know sounds very odd, but there it is there, the flow chart terminator. So you would select the shape and then draw it out onto your slide. And then you can type straight into these and continue. So the next thing we need is an arrow. So if you go back into the shapes, you can see that now it's turned slightly different. We're in the format tab. There's an arrow. You could hold the shift, like I said, and draw it down. And then what you can do is you can even change the arrow type. You've got some stuff going up here, but if you right click, you can do the outline in black. And you can also, if you right click and go into format shape, you can change the end of the arrow as well. You might not be able to see that very well, but if we go up a little bit, you can start to see how it's going. And then you could shorten it if you felt, use your shift again to make sure it stays straight, and then back into insert, back into your shapes, and you could use the diamond shape. They've all got names, but you can decide yourself. And then you just sort of draw it out and place it with a four-sided arrow, and notice how it sort of snaps, so you can see how it's connected up to the arrow in the right place. And once again, you can type in. You can change the size of all of the text if you don't like it. You can click in it, and then remember, because we moved to the format tab, you've got lots of styles, nice styles and graphics in here for colours, and they're quite good in that they have like a bit of an embedded look, and beveled even, and you can start to make something look very good. So have a go at that in your own time, just so you get a feel. Notice the connector, there are different shapes, so you may be using these types of arrow, block arrows, or the connectors up here. This is what I've used. You've got this type as well, where you can sort of do your own thing. So there's lots of things that you can have a go. So remember that. If you're grouping things, let's just group these three things. So 1, shift, 2, 3, and even the arrow in the middle, 4. Then if you right click and go to group, you will be able to group it as one object. Then you can move it and do whatever you wish. If you want to then ungroup it, you just right click, make sure in the middle, make sure you get the grouping coming up. That's the place. So notice if I do it there, I get the grids on the guides. Here, I'm actually getting the colours and the numbering and stuff like that. But if I go into the right place, which could be on the edge of the group, and there it is. So notice that will bring up the grouping. You can ungroup. If you click there, you're going to get a different format shape. It's probably what it's getting at. And then if you can do different colours and things, if you're there, you get the grids and guides. So make sure you're on the edge, group and group, and now they become separate. Okay, so if we look at the next slide, slide 19, just minimize this so you can see a bit better, and you can see how it started and how you build it up into your own. So have a little go at that, make sure you've got those skill sets, and in case it will come up in the exam that you need to do that. The next area though are the predefined charts, flow charts, and you can see here where they are is in the insert. Back in the insert we found the shapes in here, and right alongside is something called SmartArt. So SmartArt, this activity is asking us to use this feature, and we're going to insert the following chart and insert a basic process SmartArt shape. So let's get a blank up again. So let's do another blank. Make sure we insert a blank slide. Remember the view and arrange all, and you can see both. So if we're clicking in here, we can go to the insert and we can go to the SmartArt. And what we're looking for is a basic process. Now you could hover on them all and find them. That's all of them. It's quite a lot, as you can see. Or you can go to the wording. Look for the wording, what you think they're looking for. Remember organizational charts, they use hierarchy. And this one, they use basic process. So if you hover on them, you will eventually, there's the basics. The first one, basic process, you'll find using the tooltips, the one you want, and then it drops it in. Okay, if we move to slide 22, you could pop it in here if you want. So let's get rid of that. Don't save. And let's go back here and do it into this chart. So together, we're going to the insert, SmartArt, process. You can pull these out of the way if you're in an exam. Pop it in. Okay. And now what we can do, you can even move that around if you wish. And we're going to follow this. So we're going into research and typing that in. And then publish. It's quite straightforward. And then document. Oops. There we go. Make any spelling errors, double check. Okay, so we've done that. If we go to the next one. So in this one, they're asking us to move things around. You know, the same way if you did basic PowerPoint, you did demoting and promoting. So this is SmartArt. So if you click once, it comes up with the format tab because we've got an arrow in it. So you'd have to click again to make sure that you bring up the SmartArt area. In the design tab, there's a text pane that's normally up by default, but I've turned it off. You can close it, put it on, take it off. If I just delete the arrow, because we're going to do another exercise in a minute, then if I click on the SmartArt, it's automatically SmartArt straight away, and you can see the tabs come up. So if I wanted to move the document over, in the Smart Design, there's a right to left feature. So it will switch the layout of the SmartArt graphic between left to right and then right to left, depending on where it is and what you're trying to do. So that will go over, so it's at the front. Okay, and then if we do right to left, the other way it goes back again. So be aware of that. The other thing that it's asking us to do, just close this off here so you can see, is on the next slide, you can change a graphic, an existing predefined flowchart, and apply a different layout to it. So let's get this for ourselves using the basic process. So we're going to click on it, the whole thing. Sorry, in this one. There we go. And we're going to go to the design tab and change the layouts. There they are. And they do show you what they are and also tell you what they are. So if you're looking for something you're not sure of, that's the one we want, and that's how you would do it. I'm just going to undo that for now. So if we go to the one we've changed the layout of, we've now been asked to do a colourful range, apply a colourful range, accent colours 5 to 6. So the change colours, we were in here before, we've been in here, and now we're going to look at changing colours. So let's go here. Colourful, there's our colourful range. And if you hover on these, accent 2, and then eventually 5 to 6. You might know where that is, but in the exam you may just hover around and make sure that's definitely right. So we can change these things and make them look really good. So your predefined flowchart should look like this. So hopefully you've touched upon quite a lot in this area. There are other ways and other things to use within these areas. So I mean, there's some really fantastic graphics, and you can do a lot with them, but this is very basic, and this is covering the syllabus as expected of you. The next video I'm going to do is the weekly revision that covers the charts and flowcharts area, and that's going to be questions 11 to 13. So if you need to look at it, you'll find that in the same area within the weekly revision folder. Thank you.